Good day, USA! Welcome to Flag Steward's Be a Stud Citizen message. Not our usual Be a Stud Citizen reminders from our flag, but a Be a Stud Citizen message for Thursday, March 18th, 2021. Why? Because we want to send out a message about an awesome Be Good to Each Other citizen, a historical citizen that we'll talk about here in a moment. But first, of course, we got to know, where is our flag, the U.S. flag at half-staff today? And this is a first for us. Well, we're alerting you to a half-staff in the island of Guam. It's one of our U.S. territories, and the governor there has ordered the U.S. flag and all flags of Guam to half-staff to honor a former mayor who's passed away. And you can click on the link below and find out the details. We also have 3 other half-staffs that continue. And now you know, students, where your flag should be at school or at home or business. And it's time for our historical Be a Stud Citizen message from our flag that recalls a 6-year-old little girl. Some call her a heroine. Some call her nowadays She-Rose or a She-Ro. Hey, I didn't invent the term, but it's catching on. Someone who knocked down the doors of racial discrimination. What is that word? Well, that means unfair, separate education based on skin color. In this case, it's racial discrimination for education. And she knocked down those racial discrimination doors at her school. And we celebrate her as part of Women's History Month. We're relaying the triumphant story of another pioneering woman, in this case, little girl, who broke down cultural barriers and brought America one step closer to fulfilling its promise that all men and women are created equal. When did this occur? Well, it happened in November 1960. A brave 6-year-old African-American girl named Ruby Bridges. She was the first student to desegregate. That means give equal access to all students regardless of their skin color or other inequities, so to speak, inequalities. She was the first student to desegregate New Orleans' all-white schools. She attended William Frantz Elementary School. And yeah, put yourself in her shoes. Can you imagine that? Being that young, walking with U.S. Marshals as your security guards into an all-white school? Well, she faced daily protesters cursing her, making threats to her life, all so that she could prove her civil right to attend a public school no matter one's skin color. And on that first day of school, she saw upset white parents come to the school and take their kids away home to their home because they didn't want them to be near or touch Ruby as if she was some sort of disease. And of course, Ruby must have been even more upset the second day, because then she came back for day 2 to show their disapproval. No other students came to school, and every teacher except one refused to teach her. Slowly over the next few days and weeks, students returned to school, but no one would attend class with Ruby. So for over a year, can you imagine this? For over a year, she was the only student in her first grade class, taught by Barbara Henry, a teacher from Boston, Massachusetts. Good for her. And good for Ruby, who, as you might imagine, is the subject of today's inspirational quote from our flag. And it comes from one of her U.S. Marshals, Charles Burke, who talked about his experience protecting Ruby going to and from school every day. She showed a lot of courage. She never cried. She didn't whimper. And we're all very, very proud of her. Yep, that's what the U.S. Marshals said about Ruby Bridges and how she conducted herself, I should say, when going to school. And that background image, well, that's the famous painting, The Problem We All Live With, from Norman Rockwell. And yes, we do have a little fun from our flag. It's not a typical joke or anything like that. This is something serious that you should take some time to sit down with your child or student, relive Ruby's life and childhood through this powerful 8-minute storybook video known as Through My Eyes by Ruby Bridges. Highly recommend you check it out and spend some time with that. It'll open not only your eyes, but hopefully your heart and your understandings. And now it's time to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Students across America, at school or at home, inspired by this week's Be a Stud Citizen message about brave little Ruby Bridges, please unite and recite the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's it. Go out, be a stud citizen. That means be an awesome, good to each other citizen. Keep America beautiful, and remember, in God we trust.